Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're new. Today I'm in my kitchen and there's a reason for that. We're going to be talking about food and some of the differences between how we prepare food here versus how we prepared it in the US, and like what we've changed in how we eat and what we eat, and what some of the differences are between how food is prepared here versus how it is prepared in the US, based on our experience so far. So if that sounds interesting to you, let's dive right in. Big change is grechka, or buckwheat. Now, we didn't really eat grechka or buckwheat prior to moving here. I was aware of it because I grew up in Ukraine, so I was aware of what buckwheat was, but I hadn't really eaten it very much. It wasn't a big part of my diet even then. So it got reintroduced when we moved here and someone taught me how to make it. And our kids absolutely love it. So it's become a staple in our home. We eat it for breakfast and lunch primarily, though you can eat it for any meal, honestly. And it pairs really well with a lot of different things. It goes really well with meat, vegetables, usually like sauteed vegetables, ketchup, we'll get into that in a minute, different types of sauces, really eggs, that's another one you can pair it with. A nice over easy egg with a runny yolk is really yummy with it. Basically, like rice, there's a lot of different ways you can eat it, except unlike rice, it has a slightly stronger flavor, which makes it more distinctive, and that's really nice. Turn it down to low and let that cook until all the water has evaporated. You may have noticed when I was making the grechka that I was using actual teaspoons and an actual cup as opposed to like the standard measuring cup, and that's also something that's changed. I still use the standard ones for baking. For things where the measurements don't need to be quite as absolutely exact, I will sometimes use actual cups, actual teaspoons, actual tablespoons, and it's actually worked quite well for me. Correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, that is more common to do here. At least it was in Ukraine, it was more common to do that. And I've started doing that now that we live here. I know also cooking with a scale to measure in grams is something that's quite common here. I haven't started to do that yet. That's not something that I grew up doing. It's not as common in the US. It is something people still do, but it's not quite as common. But it is something I will need to start learning. So our grechka is now done, which leads us to our next big difference. We like to eat grechka with ketchup. That is, the kids absolutely love it. And ketchup here is something that's really different. In the US, generally speaking, there's only one flavor of ketchup, and it's ketchup. There's not like any extra flavors in it, it's just ketchup. And you use it on fried foods. So you'd use it on fried chicken, you'd use it on French fries, but you don't use it as like a universal sauce. It's only used on very specific items. Here, ketchup is used on anything. It's a more universal sauce, and there's lots of different types. So this is one I bought for the kids. It's a nice, really big bottle of it. I don't really care for this specific one. It's a little too sweet for me, but the kids love it and it's inexpensive, so that's what I get for them. And this one is for shashlik, or shish kebab. The ones that we really like, I absolutely love this brand of ketchup, and this tastes more just like the standard ketchup that we'd have back in the States. It's a really good one. And then we also really like this brand. Their standard one's really good, and also their one with garlic is amazing. This one also has one with garlic, which is quite good as well. And so I have started using it on griechka. I've even had it on pasta before, which was completely brand new. I'd never done that before, but it's really good. And our kids also really love ketchup on bread. So that's one of our most popular lunches, is bread and ketchup with cheese or sausage or something on the side. So ketchup, big change. Another big difference is I cook from scratch a whole lot more. You don't really realize how much prepackaged food there is in the US, or how much the average food recipe requires prepackaged food until you leave the US and have to start and don't have access to those things. I didn't realize how much I did not cook from scratch back in the US. For example, if you make a casserole, it's almost inevitable that the recipe is going to call for a can of cream of chicken soup. As far as I'm aware, that doesn't really exist here. There aren't nearly as many canned soups and pre-canned things and pre-frozen items that you then are expected to put into recipes. Yes, there's plenty of frozen food, there's plenty of canned food, there's plenty of pre-packaged food, but it's expected that you buy that to eat it on its own. Generally speaking, you're not buying that to then cook it and make it into something else. Whereas in the US, we have a lot of pre-packaged food that is designed to be taken and then put in a recipe. And that's something that just doesn't seem to be as common here. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, it just doesn't seem to be as common. The overall Russian cuisine seems to be much more from scratch, which I think is actually really good and is a lot healthier than the American way that we do things, typically speaking. So that means if I want to make a casserole, I have to make my own cream of chicken soup alternative, which is better for you than the canned cream of chicken soup. And kind of on that vein, I also bake less here, just because bread, cookies, and cakes, they're really yummy and they're a lot more affordable here. And they're not as full of preservatives, so they taste better. Whereas in the US, generally speaking, if you're buying bread, like the cheap bread that you can actually afford, if you're on a budget and you don't want to spend a ton of money on bread, the bread you can afford, it does not taste very good. And so I sometimes would bake our bread. Not all the time, we still bought the cheap, not yummy bread, but sometimes if we wanted bread that actually really tasted nice, I would bake it myself. And there are some women I know who bake all their bread, and that's why, because it's a lot more affordable and it tastes so much better. We don't have to do that here. Here, the bread is affordable and really, really good and not chock full of preservatives. It actually is budget friendly to just buy bread instead of baking it. The same is true for like cookies and cakes and things like that. In the US, it's just, they're number one, not as good, and number two, they just are more expensive. Whereas here, you can buy cookies and cakes and all those things and they taste really yummy and they are affordable. Yes, it still might be cheaper to bake your own cookies and cakes, but it's not the same gap in price as it is in the US. And so here you can be on a budget and still buy your cookies and your cakes without having to bake them. Another thing that has become a staple is cutlets. I didn't ever really make cutlets prior to moving here, but I came here and someone taught me how to make them, and they are fantastic. They are affordable, they are filling, they are super yummy. You can pair them with anything. We love cutlets. I cook cutlets quite a lot because they're easy to make, and so yeah, that's one thing that has become a part of our food rotation that we never really ate before. We still try to eat some of our American recipes, but now we eat griechka, now we have cutlets, we eat a lot of bread, and I still do some baking, but we do buy a lot of our cookies and cakes as well. And finally, one of the last really surprising things is cold salads. Andrew and I are not a fan of cold salads, at least not American ones, but here, Russians know how to make really good cold salads. They actually know how to make them taste good. In the US, we have a small selection of cold salads, and they're not that good. I can stand some of them, but they're not that good. Whereas here, almost every cold salad I've had I've liked. They're really, really good. And Andrew especially doesn't like cold salads. And he also really, really likes the cold salads here. So that is a definite difference, but huge win for Russia that they know how to make salads that actually taste good. Okay guys, hope you enjoyed that video, kind of going over some of the differences that we've noticed between food here and food in the US, and some of the changes we've made in our lives about what we like to eat and what we include in our cuisine that we eat in our home. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please check out all the information in the description box. We have information about our immigration lawyer, as well as some links to our Boosty in case you want to support the channel there, and also our email address in case you want to write us. We apologize that we've been so behind on emails. We are trying to get caught up on everything. So if you've written us and not heard back, I deeply apologize, but we will get back to you very soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.